Jobs. This workshop is all about finding a strategy that's going to work for you that you can use consistently throughout your career. So once you have this strategy, you can use it forever. And I think that is a really good investment of your time. It's a little bit based on marketing. There's a few sales principles in there. So I think they will help you as well. But look, I want to let you know that searching for jobs can be challenging. It requires a good strategy and it requires patience, and it requires having clarity, a clarity of what you can offer and clarity about what you're looking for. So let's get straight into it. Some of the key points are deciding exactly what you want. Sometimes people will go searching for jobs and they'll not be 100% sure what they're searching for. Maybe they're searching for the existing job that they have using the exact same job title. Other times they're searching for, let's say, their degree, or they're searching for a language they speak. And basically they're just searching randomly and they're putting in lots of different types of searches and they become scattered and their information is all over the place. Then it's very hard to refine it down, or it's very hard to go deep on any particular strategy. So I would think it's much better to be super clear on what you want, and then to prioritize the channels that you're going to use. So what is a channel? Well, a channel is really the area that you look for. So an example of a channel would be Indeed.com. That is an online job search engine. Other people would use, let's say, LinkedIn to find jobs. So they would be two different channels. Deciding what channel you want to use is really important as well, but probably best to use more than one. And then finally, the other key point is to interpret the jobs fairly. Sometimes people rule themselves out of jobs just because they're not fully being fair to themselves, or they're not even being fair to the employer. Okay, so we'll go into that in a bit more detail. Okay, great. So the first point is really deciding what you want. So, we've talked about this a few times in the webinars, clarifying your objectives and your priorities and really aligning those with your unique selling point. So what you've got to offer, because once you do that, you can really see how you can command your highest and best value. Sometimes people aren't like fully sure on what they want or how they're doing the job search. And so they're making lots of searches and doing lots of repetition, but basically spreading themselves too thin. Whereas once you get that clarity on what you want, and part of it is the theory of thinking about what you want. And after that, it's actually seeing how that reflects on the actual job market, and then getting some real world feedback rather than just spending lots of time thinking about what you might want and then not really knowing where that comes up. So when there's lots of different job opportunities out there and you feel like I could apply my skills and my knowledge in lots of different places, focusing in on your unique selling points, I think, is a really great place to start. For some people, it's their languages. For other people, it's their personality traits. So combining those with your priorities is super, super important. Then after that, expanding your search strategies. So, we all know that phrase of, if you keep doing the same thing and expecting different results, it's the definition of insanity. So it's about trying different types of search strategies and seeing which one fits best for you, seeing which one is the most effective. So like a simple marketing, but basically this is a marketing principle, right? A simple marketing principle is, I'll try A and I'll try B. We call it A/B testing, right? And see which works better. Am I getting a better result from A or a better result from B? And why is that? Is it because A is just not working well for me because it's not the right idea? Or is it because I'm not, or could I improve it and make it even better? Or is B working better for me because it's just a better channel, right? So expand your search strategies, okay? Then prioritizing the channels. I think starting with two is a good idea. So for example, starting with Indeed and LinkedIn, and using those online searches because they can be really effective. I particularly like LinkedIn because it's obviously also connected to your contacts. So if you do find a job and you click into it and you can see, oh, I actually know someone who works in that company, you've got the best of both worlds. You've got the best of networking and identifying the right job, and then having the opportunity for someone to give you a referral in. And we all know the referral is super powerful because it comes with that stamp of approval or that bit of trust that people have in you already and in the person who you're being referred in by. I think it's really important to consider the difference between active and passive searches, right? This comes up a lot. Uh, I love the idea of a passive search, but in reality, I'm just not so sure it's effective, right? The idea that I'll do one search on Indeed or LinkedIn, and then they say, set up notifications, and then they're just going to send us glorious jobs to our inbox every day. Um, Maybe it works for people if they're super, super specific and refined in their criteria. But my concern is that it sends us too much spam and not enough really quality information. And also they might they might leave out some jobs that we'd be interested in just because the title is different or one of the keywords is different or, a host of different reasons. So I think the active search is better where you sit down for, let's say, 20 minutes, 2 or 3 times a week, and you put some thought into it. Because think about it. This is a challenging issue. This is not something like I want a coffee and I push a button and then the coffee comes out. This is like, well, I want to fulfill my needs, my values, my interest. I want to have a nice company. I want to have, the values met. So there's many different things to factor in, which is why I think the active approach is so much better. Then the other part, so how do you actually make that active approach work for you? Well, enjoying that process. So to be able to sit down and think, this is an exciting moment. I'm going to sit down, I'm going to find new opportunities, I'm going to learn everything that's out there and broaden my horizons. So to be able to sit down and enjoy that process and enjoy reaching out to people. So whatever works for you, whether it be like in my case, if I was doing something like this or doing a task that I find challenging, I'd want to have a nice coffee and maybe a chocolate biscuit or something like that. And then I think, well, I'm going to look forward to that part. And then the whole experience becomes a bit more pleasurable. So some of the channels that I was mentioning, right? The job search engine like Indeed or LinkedIn, your personal network, right? Whether it be people from college, people from school, people in your family, friends, recruiters. You can consider recruiters part of your network. Specific companies, right? So if there's a company that really aligns with your values, or you really like their products or their services, to be able to reach out to them. Or let's say if you're very interested in effective altruism, or if you're very interested in the NGO sector, governmental sector, to be able to reach out for them. Social media, sometimes on Twitter or X as it's called now, they have a feature where you can search you can search for jobs, or you can keep up to date with companies that you like, which means you just create a separate list. And on that list, you would just have all the companies you'd like. And that means anytime they post an update about an event that they're doing, or a job that they're hiring for, or a new service that they're launching, you're one of the first people to get it, so you can keep track of who they are and what they're doing. Obviously, events locally or online can be good, but having a strategy for going to the event is going to be important, so you can know what you're trying to get out of it. So what is your intention for the event? I've seen people go to events and they just wander around, not really knowing what they're looking for, not knowing who they're trying to talk to. So knowing that, okay, I want to speak to these 3 or 4 people, and this is what I'm going to tell them, and this is what I hope to get out of those conversations. And then here's my contact for how they can stay in contact with me, or I can stay in contact with them. And then the local area. The local area is really a tick box exercise. Most of us don't look in the local area unless we're looking for our first jobs. So that would be like if you're looking for retail work or bar work or any type of work that's very based on the location. The third point is to evaluate and iterate. So if you think of when you're looking for jobs, let's say you find 10 jobs, right? That's the first part. Then how many applications do you send in for those 10 jobs? Maybe you send in 8 applications for the 10 jobs. And after that, how many interviews did you get? Maybe you got 2 interviews. So then you'd have 10, 8, 2. In that case, you might think, well, I'm applying for most of the jobs that I'm finding, but I'm not getting as much of a response back. So I want to try and improve the applications to get more interviews. So what some people find is when you look at those numbers of the applications to the or from the jobs found to the applications to the interviews, they'll find, well, if you've only applied for 3 applications or 3 jobs, the amount of applications is going to be low as well. And then the amount of potential offers is going to be low. So then it's a case of increasing them. Personally, I think a good amount of jobs to apply for is about 20, right? For most people, applying for about 20 jobs is a really good effort. And then if you hear back from, let's say 10 of them, and then you go for a few of those interviews, then you know you're ticking a lot of the boxes there. So once you do that sort of analysis, right, a little bit of evaluation, you can identify the best channel. What channel was working best? Indeed, LinkedIn, your network, recruiters, or something else. The last point on point 3 is to follow up. A follow-up strategy is super important because sometimes our emails get lost, or sometimes people really want to keep in touch with us, but they just forget. And, you know, everyone's busy and everyone's got lots of priorities, and we're all getting social media messages and messages online and emails and everything. So just following up and, following up 2 weeks later and saying something simple like, I'm not sure if you got my application, but I just want to touch base. Here's my contact details and I look forward to hearing from you. And then maybe 2 weeks after that, and then maybe 2 weeks after that. But you can do it in a nice way. I just want to touch base, see if you got my application. Then maybe the second one can be, I'm sure you're extremely busy, but as you know yourself, applying for jobs can be a difficult process. And if I haven't been selected because there are more suitable candidates, I totally understand that. But some meaningful feedback would mean the world to me, right? And so we're kind of stopping them from giving us generic feedback, which is, oh, unfortunately, you have not been considered for this role because we have found someone more suitable. So you're just saying, yeah, I understand that's maybe the case or probably the case, but some meaningful feedback would be wonderful. And then I would send one more email to them and say, final follow-up. I'm sure you're super busy, but this is the last time I'll follow up with you because I don't want to bother you. I would really love some meaningful feedback or to have a quick chat with you on the phone about this role, right? And so we just give yourself and themselves the best chance to find a good match. And we can do this all in a very nice, polite, and easy way, okay? So some questions to ask yourself in this process, apart from the ones at the start that I mentioned, which is, what do you really want? What are your priorities? Who can you ask for help? So would you have 2 or 3 close friends or family members or colleagues who you can say, look, do you know anyone I could speak to about this? Because we know leveraging the network is one of the most effective ways of finding a new role. Always be asking yourself, what's working? What's not working? And how can I improve that? And where are you getting stuck, right? Because sometimes people will get stuck about not knowing what they're searching for, and sometimes they'll get stuck not knowing what they want, and sometimes they'll get stuck because they just find it an overwhelming task. And if, let's say, you find it too much effort or hassle to put a CV together, well, then you could say, okay, well, maybe I should just get someone to help me with this, whether it be a friend or a family member or a coach like me, and just, help yourself get past that little roadblock. So figure out where you're getting stuck and how you can adjust it. Okay. So a couple of examples. We touched on this in a previous workshop, but the Boolean search is something you can use on Indeed and LinkedIn. It allows you to use these type of filters. These type of filters like, adding in all of these words or an exact phrase. So you might be looking for data analysis, Italian, or you might be looking for pharmacy, French, or you can use an exact phrase like product owner, or an exact phrase like endocrinologist, or whatever it might be. You can also use these other terms like at least one word or none of these words if you find searches are coming up that you don't like and you want to rule out. Okay. Speaking to the network and speaking to recruiters, really important to tell them what you do want and what you don't want, because you're setting parameters then for them. This is what I'm looking for. This is what I'm not looking for. And then they know. What some people do when they're not really focused on it is they just say, this is what I have done. Can you help me find what I should be doing? And then they give the other person the challenge to go and figure it out, right? So tell them what you want and what you don't want. Giving them a good pitch, right? It's so much easier to sell you if you sell you to us first, right? Or if you sell you to the recruiter, then they can say, oh my God, I spoke to this person. They were wonderful. They blew my hair back. I was so excited. They sound like they're working on lots of interesting projects. So you selling yourself to them really helps them sell you. So you're doing them a favor by allowing them to present you. Otherwise, you're kind of saying, could you please have a think about what I'm good at, what, are my strong points, and then sell me to someone else. And we're really asking that other person to do a huge amount of work for us, right? So it's really good to sell yourself. And then make sure it's a good fit. So if you're going to speak to a friend, family member, a colleague, or a recruiter, if you're going to speak to someone who's going to help you, make sure that they understand you and you feel like you're on the same page. Let's say, for example, if they're saying, if you want to work for an NGO or a charity and they're saying, I can help you get a job that makes you as much money as humanly possible, you might feel like, well, we have different ways of interpreting what's going to suit me here, right? I'm really looking for a good fit to work for an NGO or a charity, and your idea of success is making as much money as possible, right? So we have slightly different focuses there, slightly different priorities. So making sure it's a good fit is really important. That's obviously really important when you're going to the company as well. Okay. And then the third example, let's say this third example of a channel to use is specific companies. So making a list of interesting companies that you'd like to work for. You could do this in a spreadsheet or your notebook. Reviewing their career page on their website. That way you'll see the exact opportunities that are live now. When you pop onto LinkedIn, you can see if you have any contacts in that company. And then all those things give you a chance to reach out to them in a meaningful way and say, look, I've seen the jobs you've got available. I've seen your services. I've seen your products. I've even got one or two friends working with you. And I think I'd be a good fit for these reasons. So that would be a third example of reaching out to a specific company. A third example of using a channel to find a job. So I hope that is lots of interesting information for you that you haven't come across before, but maybe you have. And finally, to finish up, what is your key takeaway from today? So please take a moment to outline your 1 or 2 key takeaways from this session so that you can make sure you solidify the knowledge that you've gained today and any strategies or action steps that you can implement from now on. So maybe it's something like finding the websites of the right companies and checking their career page. Maybe it's getting really crystal clear on what you have to offer and getting your pitch ready. Maybe it's using your unique selling point to reach out to a recruiter and tell them exactly why you're the right person for the role. Or maybe it's leveraging your network and speaking to friends, family members, colleagues, previous people you went to college with, and seeing how they can help you and then describing exactly what you're looking for. So please take a moment to outline your key takeaway. Finally, thanks so much for attending this webinar. I hope you have enjoyed it and looking forward to seeing you in next ones. Thanks so much and have a good day.